Can you tell me what you're doing right now?
We're going to the beer store because I work with a bunch of alcoholics and I need to drop off their empties to clean up the space. And I'm going to buy them Schlitz in return because I don't like them. God damn it.
I'm Alita DeRoche. I'm one of the co-owners of Coach House Sound.
Coach House Sound is this studio that we're building. We just started working on the project back in August. We've been working to renovate, basically just building up to have like a nice kind of mid-range studio.
Max and I were on Craigslist one day. We were looking around at spaces, saw a few that were quite expensive, some that were just inappropriate for audio, and came across this space that was, so much cheaper than the others in a very good location for all of us here in Parkdale.
I wasn't on board immediately because it was a shithole.
The second we got in here, we cleaned out all the junk. We found some pretty crazy shit too. Stolen street signs, bike parts, guns.
There's missing pieces of the floor, and it was uninsulated, it was dirty and musty, it was a mess.
Once we started framing everything, you could really tell what was going to become of the space. That's when I really got excited about the studio. And so now the four of us are together renovating a shithole.
Basically since August, we've been working through all the stages of construction, just kind of getting the space ready to be something that we can start recording bands in.
Max's dad, Jeff, was there, and he really kind of guided us through the process.
We started off with putting in a new subfloor, and we build the floor, float it, and make sure we're not touching the concrete so sound won't travel through the ground and vice versa back into our microphones as we record.
In the early 1900s, I guess, this is what Frank, our landlord, tells us, this place was part of the Parkdale Creamery, and it was like the coach house or carriage house for that operation.
The horses were here, and they were also trained here. They put blinders on them, and they walk them all the way around the garage until they just got used to pulling the wagon.
Basically, the entire floor of this building is on a slight angle so that all the animal piss and shit would go out the door. So that's why we're in this place on an angle.
Well, oddly enough, that's level. Like that. So that does show you what the slope is.
So Frank is this amazing little old dude. I don't even know where he came from.
He is a great guy, and I'm really glad that he is our landlord. He's been completely open to us doing whatever we want in his space.
Because I was the same age as them when I started all this, that's who I was looking for.
He talks about when he built the recording studio, when he had a motorcycle workshop, when he was a legal clerk.
81, I had a motorcycle shop here. I moved to BC in 88 and left it unoccupied, and Igor Kink came in and filled the place up with bicycles.
He kept thousands of stolen bike parts.
When I walked in, the police had already taken everything, all the bicycle frames, because they were the only ones with serial numbers.
You can look it up on the internet, and there's pictures of the outside walls being ripped out, and it's oh, that explains why there's a piece of plywood keeping together the south wall, you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting to have that little piece of Parkdale history in there.
Let them have a ball. I hope they have a ball. This is where you meet, this age of your life is where you meet all the people that you know forever. Like the people that I met in my 20s, I still know, and I've known them for 40 years. So these guys, you'll be together for many, many, many years.
The resilient channel is one of the most important sound isolating techniques because it decouples the drywall from the framing. There's no sound transference through except for through the small screws where it's fastened into the framing. This is the only point where this resilient channel is going to be touching the framing, so any sound transference is going to be through this point We're doing it every 16 inches. And when we tie in the drywall, we're going to go in between these as to make sure that we're not tying the drywall directly into the beam, which would defeat the purpose of having this at all.
As you can see, the res bar actually has some flexibility, which is going to absorb the vibrations of the sound as it travels through the air. And once we have that vapor barrier up, we can just basically start drywalling, as long as we keep in mind where the studs are so that we don't tie into those with the drywall screws, and we're good to go. And then we can just start mudding, and then we can just start basically painting, as far as I know. I think we'll be done now. And then we can start recording bands. And then
We're rich and famous.
yeah.
Never. We still have a lot to do. We're by no means close to being finished. So, I don't know.